Yeah, hi everyone. We'll start within few minutes. We are a bit early on the time today, so we'll start within a few minutes. We'll wait for a few more candidates to join in. Okay. So we'll just wait for 1 more minute and we'll start exactly by 10:05. Within the next 2 minutes, we're good to start. Okay, just give us 2 more minutes. That's it. Okay, so we're good to begin. Welcome once again, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Uh, uh, we are going to start today the second lecture for the demo session for Firewall Mastery 5 in 1 course. The first session was, of course, yesterday. I hope you all had a good time and learned some good things about it. Regarding this particular course, again, uh, for those of you who have joined, for the first time today, my name is Akhil. I've been in IT industry for 8+ years. All security products I've been working on. I've been working with various MNCs and system integrators and having hands-on deployment experience for various security products again. Certification wise, I've done my CCNA checkpoint. I've been certified on SIEM products as well, McAfee and IBM QRadar. And process wise, I've also completed my ITIL certification. And as I said, I've deployed, almost all security solutions, NGFW, IPS, endpoint detection and remediation. I've set up a security operations center for a few banks, global clients as well as government entities, as well as ITES segment clients. Regarding this course again, I'd just like to brief you once again. This is a comprehensive course when you talk about NGFW, next generation firewall, right? So 5th March we are starting with checkpoint, full blown, from next week. Checkpoint would be the first firewall. The second one will be Palo Alto, and we are launching it from 26th March. 16th April, we'll start with the Cisco ASA FTD. 7th May, we'll start with FortiGate. And on 28th May, we will start with F5, which is the load balancer local traffic manager, right? So that's about the course timeline, and any other queries that you might have regarding this course package, you can always get back to us. There's a contact us page right at the end of the slide. I'll show you. So you can always get back to us with all your queries, any clarifications that you might need. Now, we just, we had a session yesterday, and this is the course agenda again. So we are going to, do a pretty much starting from a scratch kind of a thing, going up to the medium level and then the advanced level. And of course, all the topics will be covered in the labs. So that is what we have already discussed about this, but this is uh, the course agenda, checkpoint, and I'll be teaching checkpoint to you. So this is the complete agenda for checkpoint. This is what we summed up yesterday. Like, the versions of checkpoint, R77.30 was the older one. and with the new changes in the architecture, they started with R80.10 going to R81. The latest version, however, is R81.10, as I said. But all our labs, everything will be done on R81, as we discussed yesterday, right? Uh, so these are some of the features. So wherever your like quantum security, again, it's like a physical device that you can install in data centers. Cloud guard is something that you can put on the cloud to manage your cloud infrastructure, protect your cloud infrastructure. And Harmony is something at the endpoint level where you can protect your remote working users, roaming users as well, right? So this is all what we discussed yesterday. We had a very good discussion on these points, right? Why do we need a next generation firewall? What is stateful inspection all about? What is a UTM? What are its features? What are the features of checkpoint as a UTM firewall, right? And which firewall to consider. So we also saw a bit about the Gartner reports, Forrester Wave, and the NSS Labs report as well, right? So all this we have discussed. I'm not going to take all this again. Uh, so these are the unified threat management features, which again the checkpoint calls them as blades. So we are going to start from here. Okay, what is basically checkpoint? And I'll if so this is my server again. I'll take you to the server and I'll show you the labs as well. Let us see how much we can cover today. But for today, we are slightly diving into checkpoint. Uh, you will get more familiarity with the checkpoint solution. What is a checkpoint exactly, and all that stuff, right? What are the components, and how it can be deployed in what form factor. Like there is something called as two-tier architecture, there's something called as three-tier architecture. So what is all that about, right? But before we actually move on to the installation, let us start with what is a checkpoint. Right now, even before we go into the checkpoint, you just need to know, like any firewall, logically, right? It's like a bigger desktop or a more powerful machine with more CPU, more RAM, more number of LAN cards. Correct? It's logically it will have some kind of OS. It is a hardware. It will have an OS. It will be, you will install software on it. It's like similar, right? I mean, in terms of a hardware machine, it's a bigger, powerful server as compared to a normal desktop. Yes, it will have more RAM, more CPU, and more space and more network cards, right? So that's what firewall is logically. Uh, but like if you compare with a traditional desktop, right, what we need to do is we first need to go to a market. We need to procure a hardware, a desktop machine. Then we need to install an OS on it. So the desktop is my hardware, and then Windows 10 becomes my OS. And then I can install any software on it. It could be like MS Office 2019 or any other software that you may consider, right? So exactly in this similar way, Checkpoint is a software. Okay, you need to know that Checkpoint always is a software. Checkpoint is a software company. They develop a firewall software which gets installed on various hardwares. Okay, so there are different types of hardware. Logically, you might order a hardware appliance from Checkpoint directly, but there are customers who may differ and who may say that, okay, I want to install Checkpoint on a separate server that is lying with me ideal, right? I mean, I have a Dell server, I have an IBM server, I have an HP server, and I want to use that as my firewall. I'll install 4 5 LAN cards in it, and I want to use that as a firewall. Absolutely fine. Checkpoint supports that. Okay, so that's the idea. Checkpoint basically is a software which gets installed on various type of hardware. And as I said, for a hardware you will require an OS. So depending on the type of the hardware, there is a specific OS available for Checkpoint installation. So the idea is you first need to get an hardware, then you need to get the OS, and then you can install the Checkpoint on top of it. Okay, but if you directly order an appliance from Checkpoint, you don't have to do all this. It will come pre-installed. Any one version will come pre-installed with it. You just have to start configuring that device by putting that IP, right? You put a laptop, you give an IP in your laptop of 192.168.1 dot anything. You connect it to a management port and you connect to HTTPS 192.168.1.1 and you start your configuration. So they kind of install the OS for you, configure that IP for you, and send it to you so that you can directly start your configuration wizard. But in our case, in our lab scenario, that is not what is going to happen. So we will actually have to install the OS also, and then we will configure the checkpoint firewall. Okay, so we'll see that. But these are the various types of hardwares which are supported, so you may see like one or the other form factor. So if the hardware is something like they call it as IP appliance, so this was earlier like there was a company called Nokia, right? So checkpoint software used to get installed on Nokia appliances, right? Checkpoint later acquired that company, it bought that company, and now it is called Checkpoint IP appliance. Okay, instead of Nokia IP appliance, now it is called Checkpoint IP appliance. So if you're going to install your Checkpoint software on this, then the OS that you will require is called IPSO. Okay, there is a separate file which is available from checkpoint.com. You can download the file. Even this comes with one version of Checkpoint installed. Okay, one version is installed by default, but if you want to upgrade or downgrade, you can first select the OS version and then deploy a checkpoint software for this compatible hardware. Okay, so that is how it works. The second option, the second hardware is like a traditional hardware server. It could be a Dell, IBM. There is a hardware compatibility list which is available on Checkpoint again before, because see, when I'm going to install, so here the OS is Gaia. Okay, just give me 1 minute. So here the OS is Gaia, or there's something called as plat secure platform. So if this is the server that you are going to use as a firewall, then the OS will be Gaia or secure platform. In short, we call it as plat. So how do you get this file? You just go to Checkpoint, you download an ISO, you make a CD bootable, you put it in the CD drive and reboot the server, and everything will be installed, right? So during the installation you need to make sure that all the drivers for your LAN card, for your your CPU and other stuff, right? Everything has to be properly installed, your end devices, your USB ports and everything. So it has a hardware compatibility list at which is again available on Checkpoint. So it exactly tells you what vendors or which versions of those servers are supported, right? You can go to the Checkpoint website and just browse for hardware compatibility list, and it will tell you that it will support so and so company or OEM vendor servers, so and so model, so that we are very much sure before the installation that the OS will support all this. And in this case, what happens is once you download that ISO file, the OS as well as the checkpoint software will be installed by default. It's in the same ISO file. So first the OS gets installed and then the checkpoint will get installed. So that is the idea over here. And the third type of device is actually when you order something directly from from the Checkpoint. They call it as next generation gateways, NG. So yesterday we saw like NG is like now n minus one now. Okay, so now we have something called as quantum appliances, right? We saw it yesterday. So now anything you order, right, they will term it as quantum next generation gateways or quantum checkpoint appliances, right? So again, one version of checkpoint will be installed in it, and the default OS that comes is Gaia. Of course, you can change it with Splat or any other form factor. IPSO doesn't go on these appliances. Okay, IPSO is only for this particular hardware. Okay, so this one comes pre-default, like you just have to, so this is the management port, you just have to connect your laptop over there and start configuring it, right? So that's the idea. But pretty much nowadays you will see this one and the quantum appliances, as I said, right? So whatever you order from Checkpoint, these two will be the most commonly seen platforms, except for some scenarios where the customers say that I want to put it on this one, or I want to completely install my setup on this one, right? So that's the idea. Checkpoint basically is a software which goes on various types of hardware, and depending on the type of hardware, you will have a particular OS. Nowadays, most of the stuff is being like all everywhere you will only see Gaia. Okay, so the Gaia story is something like this. So previously, before Gaia, there were two OS. One was Ipso and one was Splat. So Ipso had its own CLI. Secure Platform had its own CLI, right? So the commands were different and all, right? So they decided to come up with Gaia, which supports commands from Ipso as well as Splat, and you can use a single OS and run both the commands. So that's why it is called Gaia, and they call it like mother of all, mother of the OS, right? And that's the abbreviation for Gaia. So that's the idea with the Gaia OS, and nowadays everywhere they just put Gaia. Okay, so that's the OS. So let us uh, move ahead. I hope this is clear. Anyone has any queries on this? Okay, so
Hello?
yeah,
Sir, I
yes,
have a doubt, sir. Can I ask, sir?
yes, please go ahead.
Sir, actually, I'm also working in data center. So I saw so many firewalls like Checkpoint and Palo Alto. There are some like there's a big motors like visible.
Uh, uh, I'm actually not able to hear you properly. I don't know. Can you put your question in the chat if you don't mind,
Now,
please?
sir, now here, sir. Now,
A bit clear. Yeah. What was the question?
now, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Tell me.
my
Tell me.
question
What was the
is
question?
my question is actually the firewall like, they have some like a box or like router like that only firewall also same.
The firewall may have a box.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is a absolutely it is an appliance, right? When you order an appliance from Checkpoint, you will get an appliance and you will start your configuration directly. In which case you need not install any OS on it.
Okay.
Okay, the OS as
But
well
in
as
our
one
lab
work.
purpose,
Yeah, in the lab purpose, we are going to see the Gaia installation, the OS installation, everything. Yes.
in real environment there is no like this type. Directly we can do. Okay,
Yes, 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 you are right. So in real life, when you get the Checkpoint appliance, you just connect your laptop to the management port. You start, directly HTTPS 192.168.1.1, because this
yes,
IP address is pre-configured by the Checkpoint team, and then the appliance is given to you. But when you run your OS in your lab environment, there is no IP, right? So I will show you how to set that IP, how to install the Gaia OS. We'll definitely see that, and then how to run that first time wizard also. So that's how it works.
yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so there is a question. It says that it's slightly confusing with Gaia and Splat, as both are single OS, but Splat offers CLI and Gaia offers GUI. Okay, so here the thing is that Gaia also gives you GUI, web UI actually, and Splat also gives you web UI. But Gaia it in itself is a separate OS altogether. Okay, you cannot compare it with Splat or Ipso, but it is like a superset of both the OSs. Okay, there will be a web UI for Gaia, there will be a web UI for Splat as well. Okay, but nowadays everywhere if you see it will all be Gaia. You need not be concerned about Ipso or Slat anymore. They, I mean, Checkpoint has officially, they're not officially stopped it, but they're pushing Gaia everywhere. So from our lab perspective, from your day-to-day perspective, from learning Checkpoint perspective, you should only focus on Gaia. Forget about Splat, forget about Ipso. There's no need to remember any command lines or anything. I have just told you because like 2 out of 100 customers may still be running Ipso. So you should know that Ipso is one OS which Checkpoint supports, right? You should not feel like, okay, I don't know anything about Ipso, and that's the reason that I have told you. But if you go everywhere, as I said, 98 out of 100 customers, they will be running Gaia. So need not worry about Splat or Ipso or anything else. There is Gaia, there is a web UI for Gaia, and there is a CLI for Gaia as well. So we are going to see all of that. Okay. Yes, Gaia is the most preferred, and that's what is being pushed by Checkpoint as well. Okay. So now the next part, like what are the components of Checkpoint solution? So when we order a Checkpoint, there are a few components that come in. Okay. So the very first component, as I said, is your. Okay, so these are the four components. Out of them, one is optional. The log server, as you can see, it's an optional component. The very first component is your firewall. Okay, it's your gateway. It is also called as enforcement module. It is also called gateway VPN1 FW1 in Checkpoint terminology. This also is a firewall, right? VPN1 FW1, they call it like that. I mean, it's a terminology of Checkpoint, but all this means a firewall. Enforcement module, gateway, VPN1 FW1 means firewall with Gaia OS, definitely, right? So what does this firewall do? Acts as Firewall acts as an enterprise gateway which will process the traffic from all networks as per the policy that you will configure. So your network feeds, right? Your LAN, WAN, right? Everything. Your LAN segment, your internet segment, okay? Your DMZ. I am sure all of you know what a DMZ is, demilitarized zone. Everything will be connected to your firewall. So your office, so let's say this is your router with access to your WAN segment where you have office networks, right? So even this goes through your firewall. So your network feeds get connected to this gateway and it will process the traffic. For example, I want to allow some stuff from LAN to WAN. Okay, so this is my WAN segment. So I want to allow the common stuff. I want to allow internet access, LAN to internet. I want to allow LAN to DMZ. I want to allow internet to DMZ. So accordingly, this device will process the traffic as per the policies that I will configure on it. What to allow, what not to allow, all that. So that is the gateway, and that is the reason every traffic from one segment to the other should always pass through a firewall so that it can control it as per the policy. Correct? So that's the function of the firewall. Okay. The second component is a management server. Okay, now what is a management server? Management server is like it stores policies. So all your rules, what is allowed from LAN to internet, which IP address can communicate to internet, which IP address from internet is allowed inside or allowed into the DMZ, all that ACL, okay, access list or rules are stored on your management server. Okay, by default, management server stores your ACL, and third thing is it will store your ACL and the logs. Okay, so when I say logs, the traffic which is processed by your firewall, okay, the traffic which is the network traffic basically which is processed by your firewall, those logs will by default go to the management server by default. And additionally, it will also store your ACLs or your rules, or as we call it, your policies, right? Your firewall policies. So all will be stored on your management server. Okay, so that's the function of management server. Okay, it is also called as Smart Center Server or SMC. Okay, in checkpoint terminology.
Is it inbuilt in the appliance?
It is not inbuilt. It so we'll the next slide will answer your question. Okay, so
Okay,
just wait
okay.
for one more slide. It is not
Sure,
inbuilt.
sure. Okay,
Okay,
sure.
so this is the second component. The third component is a small GUI client kind of thing. Okay, so the third component is a smart console. We call it as GUI client software or smart console or smart client. Okay, it can be called. So these are the synonyms. Okay, it can be a smart client. So basically, it's like an exe software. So usually, see what will happen is you order this firewall, you will install it in DC data center, right? You install this, you order a management server, you will still install it in DC. You'll not keep it on your desk, right? Correct. So what happens is you will have this at your desk, right? This is your desktop as a firewall admin, right? So this is an FW admin desktop, and on this desktop you will have to install this exe software, which is the smart console software. This is you can download it from checkpoint website, or once you once you have this or this, because the OS in both the cases is Gaia still, right? Once you do an HTTPS, which is the web UI, okay, from there as well you can download this console, and it is additionally available from checkpoint also directly. So you'll have to download that exe and install it on your desktop. Okay, so when you install it, okay, it will ask you like three things. Okay, once you run that software, it will ask you your username, it will ask you a password, okay, and it will ask you a server that you want to connect to. Now you remember that this GUI client, okay, always connects to the management server. It never connects to the firewall. Okay, it always connects to the management server. So the moment you open this, it will ask you for three things. Okay, one is your username, one is your password, and the third thing is your server IP address. So you have to define your management server IP address always. Okay, this will be integrated with management separately. Okay, and that is how it will work. So if you want to do certain changes on this firewall, you will have to log in through this GUI client to this management server, and then depending on the rights, permissions, access that has been given to you as a firewall admin, you will be able to modify the policies on this firewall, because the policies are stored on the management server, right? So you always have to remember that the GUI client or the smart console client, it always connects to the management server component of the checkpoint solution. And this is why, and this is the three required components. The fourth component is again optional, which is like a log server. So why is it optional, right? Because I already told you that by default the logs will go to the sorry, so the logs by default for this network traffic will go to the management server. This also has a hard disk, right? It may get full someday, and your logging may get stopped. Logging will be stopped, right? So instead of using this, you can go in. for a dedicated log server, which has more space as compared to this device, where you can store it, you can remove it, you can store the logs on a NAS, sandbox. All that is possible with this as well. But the idea is it is a dedicated log server, but it is an optional component. You don't, or you will not find it everywhere. Okay, maybe like one or two clients out of 100 would have deployed this. Okay, so these are the four components of the checkpoint firewall. So Sudesh, yes, let us just wait for the next slide, and you will have your answer on this, right? It is not a three-tier solution. We are not yet discussing the deployment modes. We are just discussing about the components of checkpoint. Okay, so these are the four components out of which one is optional, right? The basic ones that you need to remember is the firewall component, which acts as an enterprise gateway and processes all the network traffic as per the policies that we have configured. Management server is something which will store your ACLs, your logs, okay, from the firewall. And there is the third component which is smart console. So you can connect to the management server and manage the firewalls, which is integrated with that management server. Okay, so these are the components of firewall. Now let us go to the deployment modes of the firewall. Yeah, so this, as I said, it is a quantum appliance now. Okay, the latest ones which are available, they call it as quantum appliance. And there is one more thing that you need to know, that they this device, okay, this is like they will send it to you if you order a smart one appliance. Okay, so the moment you hear the word smart one, you should be you should know that it is a management server only. The OS is still Gaia, but only the management server is installed on it, and an appliance, it's a dedicated appliance given to you by Checkpoint for your firewall management. Okay, so there is something called as quantum appliances, which is like firewall, and there is quantum smart one. I can show you the data sheets later maybe. So there is a quantum smart one 600, 625. There are various models available, but that's the idea. The moment you hear the word smart one, you should be aware that it's a management server itself. Okay, so these are some terminologies of checkpoint again. So let us go to the next slide, which talks about the checkpoint deployment mode. Okay, so here you will get that answer. Okay, putty can't be used to access the firewall. Putty can be used, Madhu. It can be used to access the firewall, as well as you can access it via HTTPS also. Okay, so let us discuss about the checkpoint deployment modes. So the very first mode is a two-tier architecture, or it is also called as standalone architecture. I'll tell you why. Okay, I'll tell you why it is called a standalone. So basically, if you see, there will be a single appliance, okay, on which you can install firewall as well as management server. So the idea is, okay, the idea is when you do HTTPS 192.168.1.1, you it will ask you for certain things like host name, time, date, time zone configuration, all that stuff, and then it will ask you what do you want to load on this hardware. Do you want to load firewall? I mean, it will give you the option of gateway, it will give you the option of management server. So either you can select one of them or you can select both of them. So if you select both of them, both the components will get installed on that same hardware. Okay, and by default you will have a smart console which always gets installed on it's a exe software, so only Windows will be supported, right? There is no Linux client or anything. So by default, that smart console will always be going to your desktop. So now there are only two tiers. One is like this hardware layer, and one is this. And that's why this is called as two-tier architecture. Okay. This same hardware is serving us as a firewall as well as management server. So as I said, once you run your first time configuration wizard, it will ask you whether you want to install gateway on this or you want to install management server on this. Okay. So if you select only this, then only the firewall component gets installed. If you select only this, then the management server component gets installed. If you select both, then both of them will get installed. We are going to see that during the installation, but that's the logic with standalone deployment or two-tier architecture. Okay. Now, what is three-tier architecture, right? So three-tier architecture is something like this, which is also called as distributed, right? So there will be a central management server. Now, when I say central, it can be any one location. So let's say, so this one is at Mumbai. Okay, you are based out at Mumbai now. You are a firewall admin, right? You don't have a team, so there is, your there are many offices. There is one office in Delhi. I mean, your HQ is in Mumbai, and there is one branch in Delhi, one branch in Bangalore, one of them in Chennai, some other city as well, right? So this will be the architecture, right? So you will be definitely sitting out of Mumbai, right, as a firewall admin, and then we have like one firewall appliance, which is Power One appliance. This is a older one again, but it's okay. So this is a firewall appliance installed in Mumbai. Then there is a firewall appliance at Delhi. Okay, so this is one more. There is one at Chennai which is running Nokia IP appliance, let's say. There is something like a UTM one appliance. So this one is an older one, no longer being sold by Checkpoint, I believe. A newer version has come in, the NG appliance has come in, this type of device. But I'm just for the sake of presentation, right? So there is something in Bangalore as well. So by connecting, and all these firewalls are centrally managed by this particular management server. There is an MPLS connectivity between them. It could be MPLS or a WAN point to point or a VPN connection as well. It absolutely does not matter, right? What this firewall needs, or sorry, what this management server needs to manage this firewall is a connection to port TCP 18191. Okay, so we will see all this later, but the idea is there is a centralized management server now, and your firewalls are distributed across various locations. Of course, you have the connectivity to all these firewalls, and sitting at one place, you will be able to manage policies of Mumbai, you will be able to manage policies of Delhi, you will be able to manage policies of Chennai and Bangalore as well. Okay, so in this case, what happens is the physical feeds will be connected to the respective firewalls, whereas the policies of all these devices will be stored on this particular management server. And that is why it is called as three-tier architecture. This is one, and all these firewalls constitute of one more physical layer. It could be a single firewall as well, like only three devices, this and this. Okay, again it is a distributed setup only, but I just wanted to show you with multi locations, and that's why I have done this. Okay, so this device will only have management server component installed, whereas these devices, all of them will only have firewall component installed. And they will be integrated with this management server. As a firewall admin, you can log in through your smart console and connect to this server and manage the policies of all these devices. So this is the distributed architecture. Okay, I hope all your queries are answered, right? There were few queries regarding two-tier and three-tier modes, correct? Yes, you can put it in the chat if your queries are answered. If not, you can raise your queries. Okay, so I believe that you have got it right. Good. So this is, yeah. Any queries? Okay, so in this case, you have to make sure that your management server, okay, sorry, your management server, yes, someone had a query. Can I request to go on mute, or you have a query? Okay, so as I said, since this is a central management server, you should remember that the management server should be running highest or equivalent version of the firewall that you want to manage. That means that if your firewall is running on so if your management is running on 80.40, okay, so you will be able to manage 80.1, 80.2, 80.4, but you will not be able to manage 81. So it is better that every time when you upgrade, right, you first upgrade your management server. Okay, so highest or equivalent version of the firewall that you want to manage, that should be the version of checkpoint installed on the management server component. Got it? So this you have to always remember, because if you upgrade your firewall first and then you try to manage it with a lower version, that will not work. Okay, it will never work. So you'll have to upgrade that management as well. So better that you first upgrade your management to that required version and then plan your upgrade of the firewall.
So Akhil, is this management server like a 40 manager in 40 get?
Uh, yes, but it is way better, a bit better. The reason is you can work without a 40 manager. You can directly go to the web UI and write the rules in a 40 gate. That is
Yes.
not possible in Checkpoint, because your ACLs will always be stored on the management server component. Okay, so there is
Okay.
no web UI. I mean, directly through the browser, you will not be able to write rules into the firewall.
Hmm.
You will have to use this GUI client software which connects to this management server, and that is where you will have to put down the rules. So and exactly, see, I think I'll have to go back to the earlier slide. And see, I told you, right, it is called as the enforcement module, right? The firewall here is also called as enforcement module. The reason is the rules are written on the management server, the policies, the ACL, they're written on the management server, and then they are enforced on this gateway component, installed on the gateway component. Okay, that is why it is called as the enforcement module. So you cannot do away with this. In Fortinet, of course, you can work without a Fortinet 40 manager. You can write the policies using HTTPS console, but that is not possible in Checkpoint. There is an HTTPS console available in Checkpoint, but that is for system level configuration. Your network
Okay.
interfaces, your routing, your the other stuff, backup, restore, proxy, all that stuff basically, right? So that's the
Okay.
idea. Your ACLs always will require management server. You can, so
Okay.
you, if you don't like it, you don't go for a separate hardware, but you can go for a standalone kind of thing. But yes, it will be required. That's the idea.
Okay. One last
Okay.
note. In case
Yes.
if this management server got failed, so
Exactly.
all
Exactly.
these four devices will
Yes.
not able to
So that
communicate
is,
with each
yes.
other and clients.
Exactly, that is what I'm coming to now. So,
Okay.
why these kind of setup? Why two and three? Why not only three tier, or why not only two tier? Okay, so the idea over here is, so see, there are pros and cons to it. Both the setups have their own pros and cons. Okay, so in this one, okay, in the standalone environment, the management, okay, so like the config and manageability is really easy, right? Management is easy because my management and firewall both are on the same device. I don't have to do any integration, nothing. Everything is on the same box, right? But the problem is right? If this box goes down, my ACLs go down, as well as my network connectivity also goes down because it is physically connected to this device only, right? So that is a single point of failure, right?
Yes.
But in this case, but in my three-tier case, let's say if this goes down, okay, I will not be able to change the policies anymore for all these four locations. But whatever is the last policy installed on this firewall, the traffic will go on, as it is. Like it will keep on processing the traffic as per the last installed policy. So there will be no network downtime. I will face some issues in managing these appliances now because this device is down. But the
Yes.
traffic is going to go on. It will not stop. Okay. And the same thing, let's say if this firewall fails, then I have the ACLs for this firewall on this. So I have a Delhi policy which is saved already on my firewall. So I can ask, someone to get one more backup firewall. And once he puts, bare minimum like IP configuration, then I can install the policy on Delhi and again it will start working. So
Okay.
it gives me a bit of flexibility. But again, see, like if I'm going to install the policy and this link fails, there is a problem, right? I need connectivity to port number 18191. And if that connectivity goes down, so again, there is a con, right? So each setup has its own pros and cons. Okay. So if I really have like 20, 25 users, okay, in one location, why will I install in a separate hardware? I don't need it. It's only 25 users. I'll buy one box and I'll install both the things on the same component. I'll make my setup up and running. So it really depends on a lot of factors, the costing as well as the complexity, how complex or how simple is your network, right? In this case, this scenario won't work because you definitely need multiple firewalls, and since you have a single location where your firewall team is based out, you definitely need to have a management server which connects to all these locations, right? So every
Yes. Yes.
every setup is different. It has its own pros cons, but this is how it will work. Most of the time what I have seen is people go with three-tier architecture. Okay, they mostly go with the three-tier architecture most of the time. It is a bit flexible. It gives you more options. It gives you freedom from that single point of failure. So most of the times this is used.
Okay.
Okay, right? Anyone has any more queries?
Is it? Hello, hi. This is Shambhu this side.
Yes, Shambhu.
This is any differences between Palo Alto? Basically, all architecture are I think लगभग थोड़ा सा same type का, but hardware अलग कर दिया.
See, if you talk like apple to apple, Palo Alto has a different way of processing the packets. Checkpoint has a different way. Fortinet has its own way. Fortinet is like a SIG based. Uh, someone is like in Intel Xeon based. Someone has a different processor. Palo Alto will have parallel processing. So there are, so see, at the end of the day, as I said, every device, every firewall device is nothing but a machine, right? With more CPU, more RAM, more hard disk, all that stuff. And each of them has a different way of management. So firewall, Palo Alto has Panorama, right? So it's again the same thing, but still in Palo Alto, you can write rules via HTTPS. That is absolutely not possible in Checkpoint. But yes, more or less, these firewalls are similar. More or less 80% of the functionalities will be similar. All of them will do VPN, NATing, ACLs. Those are the common things that you deploy, right? It's only some of them are faster. Some say that we do parallel processing. Some say that we have a different chip for traffic, different plane for control and traffic and all, right? So it's just the architecture level changes. But at the end of the day, every firewall you can write rules. You can configure NATing, VPN, remote access, of your UTM features. So these are the common stuff, and pretty much all the firewalls can do it nowadays. I'll not differ.
Thanks,
Okay.
Kapil.
Yeah.
I have one client. I have implemented their Sophos basically, and I want to upgrade Sophos to other vendors. Uh, could you suggest me which firewall is best for the 500 users to 1,000 users?
So that, I mean, this is something like off topic. We cannot discuss on this over here. But
Okay,
if
okay,
you
all right.
search
No
Google
issue.
on this, you can have, there are various options available.
Okay, okay.
Will you be covering configuration of virtual firewall in cloud environments? We are not going to connect to any cloud environments, but I will show you the installation right from the scratch in the PNet, right from the basic OS installation, Gaia installation. It is exactly similar in cloud as well. In fact, in the cloud, it will be something like you just go there, type checkpoint, it will be ready-made available in your marketplace. You turn it on and enable the license. So they call it like bring your own license. You have to get a license from checkpoint, buy it, okay, and apply it on that firewall. It is already installed. You don't have to do anything. You just go there and type checkpoint on it, and you should be able to use it. Okay, but we are not going to go to any cloud environment. But yes, of course, we are going to do it in Peanut right from scratch, right?
और सर ये
So yeah.
ऑनलाइन इसकी प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए लाइसेंस इसका फ्री है क्या?
No. So, see, I'll tell you frankly, it's not free, but there are ways to get a free license, which I cannot disclose right now. But there are ways. Okay. So if you, uh, so by default, if you download the Checkpoint ISO, which is free, okay, you don't even have to sign up. You just go to Google. We'll see all that, starting when the labs start, right, from the next week. We'll see all that, how you download the checkpoint ISO, how you install it on PNet, everything we'll see, right? So the idea is they give you a ISO which is free for your download. You don't even have to register. And that is a fully functional ISO which works for 15 days. So you need not have a license. There is no requirement of a license file as such. A fully functional unit or fully functional ISO is given to you. Any feature that you want to test on checkpoint, that ISO supports for the 15 days. Literally everything is supported. You don't need a single license or a trial license or anything. For 15 days, all the features will work. So you can test each and everything. Okay. I can show it to you quickly. Maybe you just go to like like you just go here and you can just say checkpoint R81 ISO download. Very simple. I mean, the checkpoint is really simple. The very first link it comes, R81 Gaia fresh install. Just go there, and this is the ISO. It's around 4 4.5 MB, sorry, GB. Okay, you just click this download and the download begins. It is a fully functional feature. Everything is included in this. You don't have to have a trial license at all. There's no need at all, right? At least for our labs, there's no need. Okay.
Is it on appliance or on?
It is an ISO. It is an ISO. You can deploy it on VMware. You can deploy it on PNet, Eve, Hyper-V. It's an ISO
Mhm.
file, right? So basically, you can just deploy it anywhere that you want, right? So I'll just quickly, if there are no more questions, maybe we can, come back to the questions a bit later again. But yesterday I showed you this lab as well. Okay, I'll today take you to that server. I'll just show you how this lab is created and all that. Okay, so so this is the lab again. I'm just touching upon. So what we are going to do is, maybe, not the full lab at once, but what we will do is we'll have a site A. Here we'll do a standalone environment. Okay. This is a site B. Here we'll have a distributed environment with firewall. So the ISO file is still same. Okay. I have made this ISO as firewall. I have made the same ISO as management over here. So this is site B. This is site A, right? So here we'll do standalone. Here we'll do distributed, right? We'll also do an AD server integration. We'll create some users in the AD, give them access, so that we'll do the identity awareness blade, right? We'll do like this DMZ server access rule from the internet. So this GUI client connecting from the internet to some DMZ segment or a DMZ server. We'll do a LAN deployment as well. Basically, you have a core switch with multiple L3 VLANs. So we'll simulate that as well, right? We have an office environment. So we will see that there's a site C, which is at like my office location. Again, some other location, right? I have a firewall, and I will manage that firewall through this management itself. So we are going to see multiple stuff, multiple things. Then this site A and site B will do a site to site VPN. There will be a remote client again, which will be like a remote access VPN. It will connect to this and try to access anything on LAN. So all these scenarios will also do uh, SSL inspection over here. It's a very interesting topic. So SSL inspection, and then we'll also do all the UTM configurations like app control plus web URL filtering. Okay, we'll do content awareness. We'll do DLP, app your control content DLP. Yeah. So we'll do all this, and along with some other administrative task of checkpoint. So everything will be done over here. And again, I was not able to show you the this lab workbook yesterday. So there's something like this. Everything is there like step by step. So I just show it to you. So you know how these labs are made, right? Like very scratch. It is like you can see like step by step. How to put what even like turning off the firewall. Everything is covered, right? So if you go here, like these workbooks will be given to you after each and every lecture, right? One for each, right? So step by step you go and deploy it. Deploy internet access rule. This is how you write a rule. So there are various workbooks. Okay, so I think there are 25 of them, 24, 25. So all this, how to install a policy, everything, even how to configure the internet router. So probably we'll. So this is the internet router. What we should do so that our devices have internet access. Everything is covered step by step on this. So there are like, if you see this, right, all these are already made. Okay, SSL VPN, site to site, backup restore identity, all this is there with us. Okay, it is nothing like we'll give you at a later stage, right? But it will be shared with you after each and every topic is covered, right? So I'll just show it to you so that you know what type of policy objects that you can create, right? So there is a lab book for that as well. So there is something called as checkpoint host object. There is something called as a host network group. So everything is covered in detail step by step, and every workbook will be given to you after each and every lecture. So and you always have the access to your labs as well, so you can always practice, right? So service object, time objects, everything is covered. So you can be rest assured, and I told you that I'll actually take you to the server where we'll be doing that lab. So this is the server. Okay. Just give me a minute.
So Akhil, my PC has 16 GB RAM and i5 processor. So can I set up this lab in my PC?
The i5, how many cores? I don't know how many cores does it have. i5 means like how many cores
8
it
core,
has? 8 core, huh?
8 core. Yeah.
4 core. 4 core should be fine. 16 GB should be fine, not a problem. But see, yesterday I told you, right? Don't go in for the complete lab at once.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, try to do the standalone first, then try to do the distributed first. Take one thing at a time. If you try to put everything at one go, and probably it may burst off.
Okay.
Okay, so just give me a minute. Again, I'm okay.
So standalone means what can you can understand, sir?
Standalone is,
Yeah, you told
sorry,
us it's standalone by firewall.
uh-huh. It should be okay. You can start with standalone, no worries. It's absolutely fine. Okay, so this is the lab UNL file. Probably this can be also shared with you. So this is the real lab, as I was talking about. And yeah, so all of this is there. So, what I was trying to tell you is if I turn this on, right, it does not give me a first time configuration scenario. So if I connect to it now, so it gives me something like this. Okay, so install Gaia on the system. So Gaia is the OS, right? So we are going to start our installation from this particular thing or this particular option. Let me just change the thing for you. Just give me a minute. Okay, so if I say it's not, so we can see, just just a second. Yeah, so this is how it will boot up, and you have to select that install Gaia on the system. Then it will say that what IP you have to configure. Then it will install all the drivers, it will install its OS, and then whatever IP address that you are going to configure, you will have to use that IP to start your first time configuration wizard. Because that is what happens when you order an appliance from Checkpoint, right? You directly give HTTPS 192.168.1.1, but where did this IP came from, right? So that is how I will show you everything right from the scratch. So once you press this, it goes on, it will ask you what IP you have to configure, it will install the Checkpoint software, OS and everything. And then we will begin with the firewall installation, or you want to make it as a firewall or management or both, right? So you kind of do that. Okay, so we are going to see right from this point, but it will be only once. The Gaia installation is once only, right? But you can do it in your labs as and when required. The next time that we are going to start, we'll start from the first time configuration wizard. Okay, to save time, definitely, but that's the idea. Okay, but I'll show it to you at least two times, one with this, one with the distributed setup, how you can install it in a standalone environment right from scratch. Okay, so this is basically that ISO that I've put on the pnet, and I can make this as firewall plus management. I'll use this as only firewall, I'll use this as only management. So I'll show you how all that is done. But this is the lab, and probably we may also like break it up. We'll not turn on all the devices at once. We'll just start maybe with this first, and then this, as we discussed, right? But definitely everything will be covered, that's for sure. Okay, so I hope uh, I mean, any questions first thing?
Nothing from my end. It's clear.
Okay, So I think we still have good time. If any one of you has any queries, this is the, you can just contact us through various means. Again, WhatsApp, call, email us. You can just go to our website as well. Anyone has any queries regarding the course material, labs, anything, you can just let us know. In fact, this is a good time right now. You can ask your queries, clear it off.
Sorry, for the
Excuse
lab you
me,
are going to use this
just
for
one
this
question.
course. Hello?
For the lab, we are going to use this same server I just showed you, right?
Is it if NG or is going to be made available on the cloud? How do you access the lab?
It is not EVNG. It is a PNet environment. It will be provided to you. A lab access will be provided to you through
Okay.
remote desktop.
Okay. Oh, well, that's great. Okay.
One
Do we pay
question.
for this section? Sorry, do we pay for this section or is going to be free through when we are
Okay.
accessing the lab?
The lab session, I think it will be included with your package if you enroll,
Okay.
right?
Oh,
It will
okay.
be
Okay.
included with your package.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Any more queries?
Yes, Akhil, this
Yeah.
training when you start from 6 March, it will be starting from scratch, or these two sessions are included in that, or how it will? It will.
Okay. Yes. So yes, it will be starting from scratch. Don't worry.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And
So Akhil,
timing, what is the timing?
So timing is there, right? It will be like, we'll still confirm you, but it will be starting from 8:30 p.m. India Standard Time. Okay. So mostly it will be 8:30 to 10:30 kind of, 8:30 to 10:30, 11 sometimes. If there are some labs which will take a bit more time, uh, but usually within 2 hours we should be able to wrap up everything.
is
Sometimes
it two
even
hours or
one
three
and a half hours.
hours? Actually,
So,
in the course
yeah.
beginning, it was said 3 hours.
So see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if I can teach, okay, 3 hours, 4 hours, I can just go on. If you
Hmm.
are able to digest, nothing like it. I can teach up to 8:30 to 11:30 also. No worries. It's up to you. If you say that, I mean, usually I will
No.
break it
My
up in terms of topic. Yeah, so
my
it will
question
be
is,
until 11:30. Yes, yes, it is 11:30.
we have a very limited time, right? From you will start from on 6th March,
5th March
and
will
the
start.
course 5th March. Okay,
5th
the
March,
course
yes,
will end on 26 or 27. So
correct.
is this enough? Is this time frame is enough to cover all the topics?
No, no, it will not
If you
end. It will not end on, like, it is a Saturday Sunday batch, right? So it will
yes,
go
yes.
on, uh, like, so okay, I got your point now. Okay, because
No, if you
okay, so
if
when
you
we say
if you take
8:30
daily two
p.m., right?
hours,
Yeah.
8:30.
So it will be something like, if when we say maybe like it's like 3 hours, right? So 1 hour it will be checkpoint, the other 2 hours maybe Palo Alto, or probably 2 hours Palo Alto, 1 hour checkpoint, or one and a half for both of them. It will be like that.
Okay.
Definitely it is. I mean, you cannot be present everywhere, right? But it's up to you. Some, because I don't know, like, but that's the idea. I mean, sometimes, yeah, we'll have to break it up, but this is it.
So
It will
you are
definitely
starting.
not get over by 26. It will definitely not get over. It is a 35 to 40 hours course. So probably, we'll have to continue a bit more. Yeah.
Hello,
So
sir. How much for the cost
checkpoint.
price, sir? How much
Maybe
for?
just the cost
Hello.
you can get in touch with our backend.
Okay.
Okay. You can contact on these numbers. Yeah, one gentleman had a query.
Yeah, Akhil, this like checkpoint, if you start, so it will be complete checkpoint, right? In between,
Yes.
you are not taking any Palo Alto or any other firewall, right?
No, I will be only taking checkpoint for you guys. Nothing, no
Mm.
Palo Alto, no Fortinet, no FI, nothing. I will
So,
be dedicatedly teaching you only checkpoint stuff.
Okay, but there will be no parallel classes also, right? Same day for other products.
That you need to check with our backend team, because I have been told to keep checkpoint to you guys. So I think, I mean, I don't know how that batch schedule has been formed for you for the complete course, but as and when, let's say all Saturdays and Sundays, I will be there with you for at least 2 hours to take my course, which is all this, right?
So,
To, yeah,
so you
settle
mean to
set
say,
everything.
so
Yeah.
you mean to say weekends you are taking the batch only on weekends, right?
Yes.
Saturday and Sundays
Yes. Yes.
for 3 hours, right?
It will be 3 hours. So maybe I don't know if there is Palo Alto and if there is a checkpoint, both are scheduled, then it could be 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours. That's what I'm saying. So you can confirm that thing with the backend, right? But I will be there every Saturday, Sunday with you guys. At least minimum from my side, 1.5 hour of checkpoint will be taken. That's what I
Okay,
can guarantee. Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
And Akhil, I don't have a UNG setup. I have a GNS3 setup. So your lab team will assist you in the installing the UNG and application, right?
Lab support, you can get it because the checkpoint is installed on GNS3 also. It goes
Hmm.
on by default. See,
Hmm.
once you know how to install or get up that ISO in any format,
Hmm.
right? I mean, if you go with VMware or
Hmm.
Hyper-V or PNet or Eve or GNS3 or anything, right? The end products are always similar. So the only difference is getting it up and running in that particular virtual environment. So only that is the difference point, but hopefully that should be supported. I mean, they will try to assist you, or else they will
Okay.
give you access. The access to the labs will be given to you by default, right? The PNet
Yeah.
environment, so you can play with that.
Yeah. Last time I joined Python automation classes, and
Yes,
I
exactly.
actually I was not comfortable with your lab because sometimes I will have office and so there are some issues. So that's the reason
Okay,
I set up my own lab in GNS and practice. So that's the reason I'm asking. So in case if I stuck in some issues in GNS or event, because I don't know how to install EventG setup.
okay,
So
okay.
so your lab team will
I
assist
got
you
your
or
point.
not? Hmm.
I got a point. To the best effort, they will do their best. They'll give you the best of the possible support. I
Hmm.
cannot commit that yes, they will install GNS3, they will make it up and running, they will be with you 24/7. I'm not going to commit that. But yes,
Hmm.
they will try to support you whatever. Yes, they are saying they will assist. Okay, so no worry, it can be installed on GNS3 also. So we'll make sure that it runs for you on your GNS3 also.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, any more questions? So hope to see you guys full blown from next week. In fact, next Saturday, 5th March, right? Uh, Full blown again. Yes, I will be covering all these topics again, but now it will all be purely checkpoint. Okay, and we'll just deep dive and we'll focus more on the labs and installations and all that stuff. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So I hope there are no more queries. Hope to see you soon next weekend, right? Okay. Thank you. Thanks everyone.
Thanks again.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.